Okay, hi everyone. My name is Ankit Thakkar, and today I have with me someone who is not just a good friend of mine, but also someone who has cracked the CET exam with the 99.97 percentile. And not just that, he has even cleared two levels of CFA even before beginning with his MBA journey. So, hi Shubham Devra, welcome.
Hi, Ankit. It's a great pleasure to be on this platform. First of all, I would like to thank you all. When I was pursuing my CET, I knew that I would have benefited a lot if I had direct mentoring from a topper, from the toppers, and the thing that you guys are doing on YouTube is just amazing. So I think I speak on behalf of the entire CET preparation community. Thank you all. Thank you all for doing this thing.
Thanks a lot, man. You're too kind. Thanks. So, yeah, let's begin with the questions.
Sure,
Let's
sure.
start. थोड़ा intro दे दे अपने बारे में.
Yeah, fine. So, hi guys. My name is Shubham Devra. I am a computer engineer by my undergraduate qualification. I did my computer engineering from Thadumal Shani Engineering College, which is an institute which comes under the ambit of Mumbai University. Post completion of my computer engineering, I worked for a period of 2 years at BNP Paribas, which is a French investment bank. And even though it was an investment bank, I was working in the technical department in the IT domain. So after basically working in an investment bank, even though you're working in the technical department, the world of finance kind of rubbed off on me, and that is where I decided, that I actually have a lot of keen interest in the domain of finance, and hence I made this decision of pursuing an MBA in finance. So I appeared for all the MBA entrance exam, which a normal candidate goes through. That is like your CAT, NMAT, SNAP, ZAT, CET, and everything. And now, finally, by God's grace, I have secured a good rank in CET, and I'll be joining my dream college this year.
Great, man. That's really good to know and really inspiring. So, when did you start your CT specific preparation, approximately?
Right. So I started my CET preparation around mid of January. That is after taking a break of around 10 days after my ZAT exams. And I remember my CET preparation was focused completely on mocks. And that is because I had already appeared for CAT twice before that.
Okay.
So I remember in my first mock, I scored around a 99. But I wasn't that disheartened with that particular attempt since the paper was very tough, and I think the topper had scored around 110. So I wasn't that disheartened by the score. The focus was on giving as many mocks as possible and just analyzing them and basically just practicing so that you can have that incremental improvement in your speed while attempting the paper. So I gave around 25 to 30 mocks, and after analyzing each of them, I think my scores, the lowest would have been 99 and the highest would have been around a 145. And towards the end of my CET journey, it was ranging around the 130 to 140 score.
Oh, wow,
So
wow.
that would be my CET mocks. Yeah,
That's amazing. So it's the delta, the increment that matters along your prep from January to February to March. How your score increased is what changed.
exactly. Exactly. And I also believe that it's not fair to look at a particular number as such. I mean, obviously, the higher the better. However, there are various other factors which you have to keep in mind. That is the test difficulty and various other factors. Like, for example, you are strong at a particular section and that section comes easy, so you would be able to bag more marks. But that doesn't mean that you slack off or, you increase your performance if you score a good marks in a particular mock. It doesn't happen that way. We just need to have that rank in particular thing. And a very important metric which I analyzed while giving the mocks was the marks per minute metric, which essentially that is the best advice which I believe anyone can give, is that focus on that particular metric and try to maximize your scores in the section in which your marks per minute is the most efficient.
Perfect. Even we have been stressing about marks per minute. It's a very important
Yeah.
criteria. So great insights. Just tell us about your overall test taking strategy for CET in the sense what was your time distribution, the order of sections, what how did you attempt?
Right. So actually, throughout my mock season, my entire focus was on improving my speed and getting my strategy right. So I tried every possible permutation and combination with respect to the sequence of the sections which you attempt, right? So sometimes I would go ahead with puzzles first and abstract later, and sometimes I would start with abstract and maybe finish up with cons. But trying all these strategies and analyzing the mocks, I realized that what best worked for me was to first start with the non-puzzle section of LR, because that was the section wherein I was scoring the most in terms of marks per minute after verbal. However, I felt that when you are in that fresh state of mind, you are able to better solve these logical questions. So I used to start with the non-puzzle section of LR first, and around 35 to 40 questions, if I'm not wrong, and I used to finish them in around 30 minutes. I made it a point to not give more than 35 minutes to that particular section, because there are other sections which you need to tackle, and you need a good start in CET. I think it's very important to make a good start in CET. After that, once completing the non-puzzle section of the LR, I used to move ahead to the verbal section. And in the verbal section, for the 50 questions, I used to give around 30 minutes, not more than that. And I made it a point to keep the RCs at the end, no matter how small they seem, no matter how easy to read it seems. I always used to keep it in the end, because I don't want to take that risk of reducing my speed by attempting RCs in the beginning of the section. After completing my verbal, I used to go to cons, and this was my strong point. I believed this was my strong point. And even if I gave 5 minutes more, it's okay, because my accuracy had always been good in this particular section. So I used to give around 35 to 40 minutes for the 50 questions. And then I went ahead with abstract. Abstract, I made it a point, a thumb rule, to not give more than 20 minutes. I mean, 25 questions, if I'm not able to solve, I would just guess mark, because it didn't make sense for me to give more than 20 minutes on a section as abstract. And yeah, finally, time permitting, I got around 20 to 30 minutes, depending upon how much additional time I take in cons and other sections. I used to go ahead with the puzzle section of LR, which has always tormented me throughout my MBA competitive exam season. So yeah, if time permits, then I would solve puzzles, and then making those your guessworks, basically marking all the remaining questions which you haven't attempted till yet. So that would be my that was a strategy which fetched the most marks for me. Of course, for everyone, it's to each their own. It depends on what is your strong point, or what are you fast at. But yeah, this worked for me.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So you were someone who wanted to experiment first before you decided on your strategy. Like I was someone who was completely opposite. I was fixed with one strategy right since the first mock, and I followed that till the end. So the main takeaway
Right,
from
right.
this is that there is no one size fits all strategy. Whatever works for you as an aspirant, you have to try that. If you want to experiment, try it. If you want to be fixed onto
Definitely,
one thing, then just stay onto that. So yeah,
definitely.
that
Yeah.
is one thing. So, what was the weakest section for you out of all the four sections, and like what did you do to improve on that weak section?
Right. So, as I mentioned, as I alluded to earlier, my weakest section was definitely the puzzle section of LR. I was like throughout my MBA entrance journey, I was never good at solving puzzles. It was just some reason I would get stuck at a particular point. I would just miss out on a minute detail, which would lead to me spending a lot more time on that. So I was never confident in solving the puzzles. So to improve upon it, I solved basically. So mocks is like the namesake. Like everyone would tell you to solve mocks, and that is true. However, I focused a lot on sectional tests. I focused a lot on solving as many puzzles as possible from the coaching class provided materials, and I would say it might have helped me, but in the actual CET exam, I could only manage to solve a single puzzle. That is also a function of me not giving that much time to puzzles. So it's kind of a subjective thing. But yeah, I would say sectional tests and books are also really important. If you feel that you're struggling in every mock in a particular section, it doesn't make sense to just think that it would go away. Try to solve much more. Try to focus on that particular domain area a bit more by solving sums from books, from sectional tests, and all that. So that helped me.
So, guys, here we have an example. Like he just solved one puzzle on the day of the CT exam, and still he has made it here with a 99.97 percentile.
And
We,
yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead, go
and
ahead.
actually, even that one puzzle, I didn't actually mark all the 6 questions. I marked
Okay.
just the three, and the remaining three I couldn't mark. So, like, even that one puzzle I didn't solve completely.
So yeah, for all those who are weak in puzzles, like don't get demotivated. It is definitely possible to get a good score. But of course, you have to work hard on your weak area. So if you're weak in puzzles, you have to definitely try and improve on it and try to figure out your way. So great. Great. Okay, now your strongest section you said was quant, right?
Yeah, cons and verbal actually. So cons, yeah, if I had to pick one, then I would go ahead with cons, and I attribute that particular thing to just like preparing for CAT. I mean, I didn't have to touch cons as such. Like whenever I came across a CET question, I was not like completely clean bowled by it, because I had prepared for CAT. I had put in the hours for CAT, and I think it's very important. I mean, it's okay if you haven't appeared for CAT. It's not a big issue per se, but CAT definitely helped me. The focus for CET is like there are some different kinds of sums. So you and the speed angle to it. So I focused on getting the shortcuts done. Now my shortcuts, I mean, it doesn't make sense if you just know the shortcuts and not the basics. So the utmost focus was on the basics, getting the basics right, but then at the end implementing shortcuts as well. You should basically know how that shortcut works, why that shortcut works, and that understanding that particular workflow helped me craft my own shortcuts and save much more time while solving cons. So I would say the focus is on practicing and getting through as many different types and different varieties of sums as possible. However, at the same time, the practice shouldn't be just practicing for the sake of it. Just, I need to complete 20 sums a day, so I'm doing it. No, it has to be an active practice wherein you're doing the smart work as well. You're trying to see if there are any simpler and more better methods basically to solve a particular sum. So basically that helped me a lot in cons, and not just in CAT but in CAT and other exams as well. So yeah, active practice, basically doing the smart work, is very important for cons.
Perfect, perfect. So some useful tips for anyone who is weak in quants and who wants to improve on it. So Shubham was very strong in quants. He's given some wonderful insights. Okay, so
Right.
thanks for the insights on CT prep. But now let's come to your USP. You have cleared two levels of CFA even before starting with your MBA. So just tell us, like,
Right.
how did the idea of doing CFA even occur to you as an engineer?
Right. So I think I have been really fortunate in my life. I got the opportunity to work in an investment bank. And even though I was not doing anything related to finance, I mean, I was working in an investment bank, but I was working in the technical department, right? But I was working on various tools which were used by the bank for making that trade pass. So we were learning about the workflow of the trades when the trader has made that buy call, how that entire workflow works. So learning about all that and learning about these high intensity trades, these spur of the moment trades, it really got me enticed, like how much money is flowing into it and how much money the traders are actually making and how interesting it actually is when you try to learn it from a detailed perspective. So it really got me intrigued. We had our trainings during work wherein we were introduced to all these different financial instruments, and just the sheer amount of, like, I mean, if a person wants to achieve something, he would just just it he will have basically a financial instrument which is definitely curated to his particular specific needs.
Right.
And that is something which really intrigued me, and that is something which really got me involved. Apart from that, I have the fortune, like my family members, most of my relatives have been from the domain of finance. They're either CAs or they are MBAs in finance or BComs and the likes. And my friends as well, most of my friends are from the commerce background. So the mentoring basically from the people whom you network with, it helps a lot. It helps you in getting that edge. And I knew about the CFA curriculum because of my friends who were pursuing that particular curriculum. So the the idea was instilled upon me by a friend of mine, but that idea has paid off dividends for me right now. So I would say network a lot with friends and try to see what they are doing different, which you are not doing, or which none of the, like, most of the people are not aware about in the market. So that is the thing.
Crazy, crazy, man. That's crazy. Clearing two levels of CFA and both in your first attempt is amazing. So
Right.
just give us a timeline. Like you graduated in 2017, right?
Right.
So when did you give L1 and when did you give L2?
Right. So I graduated in 2017 from my engineering, and straight away after a period of 1 month, I joined my job. And I decided around the time of December is when December of 2017 is when I decided to go ahead with the CFA exams based on the recommendations. And I started around mid of January, if I'm not wrong, to start preparing for the CFA exams. And I was very fortunate in the sense that my workplace was just 10 minutes far away from my particular place.
Wow.
So in Mumbai, that is like a boon. I mean, it doesn't happen for anyone, as
True.
far as I know. So yeah, and I used to work in shifts as well. So that was an added bonus because, like, instead of the 9:30 to 6 timings, I used to work maybe in the morning shift, which is like 7 to 3:30, 7 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, or I used to work in the afternoon shift, which is like 1 in the afternoon to 9:30 in the night. So that used to give me almost half of the day at a stretch in a collective chunk. And that is when I started focusing on CFA, and I gave around 2 to 3 hours, not more than that, because that was the amount of time permitted based on my schedule. So I gave around 2 to 3 hours a day, right from January, around 5 months of preparation. And I would say it's if you're putting in the effort, it's not that difficult of an exam at all to clear. And I managed to clear both level one and level two, following the similar schedule. For level one, I appeared in June 2018, and for level two, I appeared in June 2019. And for both the exams, I started my preparation around mid of January alongside my job.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. That is really, really cool. So, how did you prepare? Like, which materials did you use for both L1 and L2?
Yeah, so popular to the contrary beliefs, I actually didn't study from any books. It might sound very amusing, but I actually studied from a a particular class which used to provide video lectures to us. And there's this particular IFT classes which is headed by Arif Irfanullah sir. And I refer to his particular materials, I refer to his particular videos. Basically, he makes those PowerPoint presentations with video explanations. And for a person who is an engineer, right? For us, it is very difficult to grasp the concepts of finance just by reading it from a book. At least for me, when I tried to go to the books, it felt a bit difficult. That is when my friend suggested this particular method, and the way, the clarity, and the steady speed with which Arif sir explains all the concepts is just brilliant. And it helps you see. CFA is basically a objective based question, objective based exam. It's not a subjective based exam wherein you have to write those 3 to 4 mark answers. So just knowing the concept and knowing how it actually works will help you a lot, rather than mugging up those definitions and theories from the books. So I mean, to each its own. People, most of the people do it from the books and they do get good scores, but for me, learning from the video lectures made a lot of sense. And yeah, I would thank, like, it definitely helped me, basically learning from the video lectures.
Okay, so for you, the focus was more on video lectures rather than books, and it worked for you.
Exactly.
Great, great, great. I am going to take some tips and advice from you when I want to give my
Definitely.
CFA. Uh,
Definitely.
okay, so the last question for you is, what is your opinion on whether it is possible for someone to pursue their CFA or just say level one for now while they are doing their MBA?
Right.
Is it feasible?
I would say it's definitely feasible. I mean, I have interacted, networked with a lot of people who have already been there and done that. People have cleared not one but two levels of CFA in their 2 years of MBA. So there are people who, if you basically, it all depends upon your goals, what you're looking for from an MBA program. If you, I believe that an MBA program has other fantastic opportunities to offer as well. Like you have the study projects, you have the case competitions, you have internship opportunities and all that, the committees, and all the other extracurricular activities. So it all depends upon what you want to extract from when you're pursuing an MBA. But if CFA is your end goal and if you want to pursue a CFA, then it's definitely possible. I would say that maybe not in the first year, but in the second year, it's definitely possible. However, I've seen people doing it in both the years and clearing 2 levels. So yeah, it's definitely possible if a person is willing to sacrifice. See, nothing would be achievable if he is not willing to give in that particular amount of sacrifice. I cut down on my social networking sites. I cut down on whatever time I used to waste on YouTube and Netflix and all that. So you have to make some sacrifice, but the end goal is definitely worth it.
Right, right, right. For whatever you want to achieve in life, whether it is for CFA or even in CT, if you want to ace the exam and get your dream college, you will have to make a few sacrifices and keep your distractions on the side to achieve that. So that is
Definitely.
a very relevant point that you said, Shubham. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot for being here. You've given some really, really good insights for both CET and CFA, and I think this is going to inspire a lot of people for both the exams to and motivate them to do well.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me here, and I hope I was of help to the prospective candidates. And just keep up the good work. You guys are doing an amazing work, and I hope that you guys continue to do this.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shubham. And thank you to
Thank you.
everyone watching. See you until next time.